Hey everybody, Coach Toolshed here, and today is going to be a little bit different type of video. There's actually several different topics about different games that I wanted to go over, but I didn't really want to do an entire video on all these things, so these are just some quick stories that I wanted to go over this week that I thought were interesting, that I wanted to talk about, and I'm just going to go over those now. And so right off the bat, the first thing I want to get into is Red Dead Redemption 2, and we did on Thursday get to see some gameplay for this game, finally. So the people who were wondering when we were going to see gameplay, well, I've been talking to some of you guys down in the comments below, and some of you were saying, I'm going to wait until I see gameplay. I said, okay, well, Rockstar seems like they're following the same promotional pattern that they followed with Grand Theft Auto 5, and so I assumed we were going to start seeing gameplay about 2 months before launch, and that's exactly what's happening. So they announced the other day that they were going to start giving us some trailers, and then in the trailer we saw on Thursday, they pretty much let us know that yes, there's going to be more and more of these trailers coming as we go. And so the first trailer that we saw was talking about gameplay and some basic mechanics to the game. And the first thing I want to say about the trailer is right off the bat, the thing you'll notice is how good everything looks. That is what really stood out to me right away, is the graphical upgrade that we're going to see over the last generation's game. Pretty much everything looks a lot better, from character animations to when you see people fighting and grappling one another, like you can actually see the hands. They're not clipping into the other character. That actually looks like they're grabbing onto the other character. Looks fantastic. The God Ray is coming down in some of the vistas that we saw, some of the lighting techniques that we saw around campfires, when he was going through the snow on his horse and he had the little lamp. I mean, there was just a lot of good looking stuff in the game, and it pretty much is what I expected it to look like, because it's been 8 years since the last Red Dead game, so obviously I think anyone thinking about it would expect a big graphical upgrade over the last game, and that's exactly what we're getting here. Now, as far as the gameplay mechanics that they discussed, they didn't go too far into it, but they did discuss stuff like the base that you'll be able to have with your fellow outlaws, and you'll be able to move that around as you progress through the game. And basically, at your base, you're going to have all of your outlaw friends with you, and you'll be able to take on various missions from them. You'll be able to build deeper bonds with them, and actions you take in the game world will affect morale at the camp. Like, say you bring food back to the camp, or bring some, animal skins back to the camp that you guys can sell, stuff like that. It seems like that will affect how the other outlaws interact with you. It also talked about the bond system that they're going to be having with the horses, where you have to sort of bond with your horse, and it seems like the horse that you have is going to be much more important to you this time around, which is interesting. I just hope it doesn't really get in the way of gameplay. It might. I hope it doesn't. It also talked about how you will be able to have far more interactions and choice with interactions when it comes to NPCs that you find out in the world. It showed several different clips of you coming up on people, and it gave you sort of a choice system where you could, engage with them, you can threaten them, maybe shoot them, stuff like that, based on the NPC that you're talking to. And once again, this seems pretty cool and certainly will help with immersion into a large open world game. The only thing that I am a little bit leery about is am I going to be overburdened with too much NPC interaction? Is it going to take away from the base game? Is it going to take away from questing or different objectives that I want to encounter? Because I am someone who is sort of a completionist when it comes to games. So if I walk into a town and there's 30, 40 different NPCs that I can all interact with and have different things, that might not be great for a player like me, who will feel obligated to go through and talk to everyone that they can. I do like RPG stuff in games. I like RPGs a lot, but I don't like it when they feel overburdened with conversations and stuff like that. I think some games take it a bit too far. Vampire. And there were a couple other things that they went over in the trailer, but nothing really shook me in my boots with excitement. But it does look like a good game is coming. I didn't see anything that looked out of the ordinary. It looked pretty much like what I expected it to look like. It looks like a next generation Red Dead Redemption game, which I am excited to play. I will definitely be picking that game up. So if any of you guys were wondering, that is a game that I'm going to be taking a hard look at, both the single player and the online. Full disclosure, Red Dead Redemption is an important game in my personal gaming history, because it's the first game that I really jumped into with both feet into an online environment, and I ended up playing that game for hundreds of hours online, and I really owe sort of my multiplayer gaming experience really being born there, even though I had played other multiplayer games. Red Dead Redemption is the game that I look at as the first game that I really jumped in all the way. So I'm excited to see what changes they make. I wasn't really too keen on some of the stuff they did with Grand Theft Auto Online. Obviously, I cannot deny the success that that game has had, but I hope that the online is similar to what was in the last game. I don't want them to go overboard like I think they did with GTA Online. I think there's a lot of stuff in that online mode that is just kind of garbage. I really didn't like a lot of the stuff that they added, although I did also put a lot of time into that online mode. So we'll see how it goes with Red Dead. I'm excited for it. But we didn't really see too much in this trailer. Hopefully the next one we see a little bit more solid info. But if you want to check it out, you can go to Rockstar Games and check out that trailer. So the next topic that I want to talk about real quick is going to be something about Fallout 76. And earlier this week, actually right after I posted my video on Monday, they came out with an FAQ for Fallout 76 and the beta, and it discusses some stuff in there, different how you're going to be able to access it and whatnot. It's some stuff that I've gone over before on the channel. There's not really a ton of new information there, but something that was confirmed in typical Bethesda backhanded fashion was that the game is not going to release on Steam. Yes, that's right. Now, they didn't come out and say that per se. What they did was they danced around it, and what they said was, there's a question here that says, which platforms will the Fallout beta be available? And if you go and read the answer, it says, both the beta and the game will be available on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and on PC, in parentheses, via Bethesda.net only, close parentheses. So that is their way of letting you know that no, it's not actually going to be launching on Steam, at least not at the beginning. Maybe they'll add it later, we don't know, but what does this mean? So, I know right off the bat, a lot of PC-only players have said, I've seen it in comment sections all over the internet, that if there's no Steam release, they will not be buying the game because Steam is an important platform, especially when it comes to a game like Bethesda, where people rely so much on modding. So, right away, what does this say about the game itself? Well, this pretty much confirms what the modders have been saying all along. If the game only is going to be launching on Bethesda.net on PC, well, you're going to have an issue where the mods are going to be much more restrictive than they would be otherwise. So, I am not huge into the modding scene, so I'm no expert on that, and I'm sure there are several people who can clear some of that stuff up for you down below in the comments, and anything that I say that might be wrong about this, feel free to correct me, because like I said, I am not an expert on mods in any way. But from everything that I've read from other people, basically, if this game doesn't launch on Steam and it's only be on Bethesda.net, that's really going to give them a stranglehold on how they can control the mods for the game, and that will definitely be affecting the modding community. The other thing that it says is that's going to take them away from that Steam refund policy that Steam has. And so everyone's going to be basically at the whim of Bethesda when it comes to refunds, and I don't know what is going to go down there. If people don't like the game, you're not going to have that Steam refund policy to fall back on. Also, it gets them away from the Steam review process, and everything's going to be able to be filtered through Bethesda. They're basically going to have full control of that game on PC. So if you are a PC player and that does affect you, well, bad news, it's not launching on Steam. They did their little backhand announcement by omission right there. Now, the other thing I wanted to go back to and talk about is something I mentioned on my video earlier in the week, which is that on Saturday, which is tomorrow, at QuakeCon, Todd Howard will be having a press conference about Fallout 76. He's supposed to be having a Q&A at that time. Now, the time that I have found says that that's going to be at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and it looks like you're going to be able to watch it on Twitch and on Mixer. If you're on Xbox, you can check those out if that's something you're interested in. I'm certainly going to be checking that out, going through the list. I brought up some questions in my video earlier in the week, and I'm sure a lot of you also have questions that you'd like answered. I'm going to be sitting there with my pen in hand, taking notes, and I'm going to be making a video for next week talking about maybe some things that they corrected me on. Maybe they changed some things and listened to some player feedback. I doubt it, but maybe they've actually listened to some player feedback, and maybe they'll make an announcement that can make some people happy. Some changes that maybe they've gone back on since we got the original E3 announcement and those first few waves of interviews with Todd Howard and Pete Hines. So hopefully we will see a few changes, because I think there's a lot of people that right now are not too happy with what we're seeing. But the more we go down the road, and now with this latest announcement that they're not going to be launching the game on Steam, it just seems that they're just going to do whatever they feel like, and they don't really seem like they care what the fans want. So I'll be really interested actually to see how they handle this press conference, mainly because Bethesda does not get pushback when they announce their big games, ever. They might you get the fringe people on the side like, oh, Bethesda sucks anyway, who cares about those games? Like, you're going to get that anyway with any game you launch. But Bethesda is not used to getting this sort of pushback in such large quantities from their base. And anyone who wants to try to deny that, you are living in a delusional fairy tale land if you think that most people aren't at least concerned about the direction of the game, because a lot of people certainly are. And the more information we get, the more I see people starting to turn on the game. So I want to see, how is Bethesda going to handle this in real time? What sort of questions are we going to get on that stage? I'm very interested to know. I know some of you are as well, and I also know some of you are already at the point where you're like, I don't care what they say, I'm not buying the game regardless. So okay, that's fine. I understand that point of view entirely, but I have sort of staked a claim into this conversation, so I'm going to follow it through. I'm going to see this through to the bitter end. Now, the other topic that I wanted to get to this week, I know, a lot of stuff I want to talk about, was Dead Cells. And I had originally wanted to do sort of a first impression, if not maybe an outright review of the game for this week. I don't think I'm actually going to be able to review the game this week because, quite frankly, I'm not going to be able to finish it in time. I don't think it is a lot longer of a process than I actually originally expected it to be. Maybe if I was a little bit better at the game, I could have beaten it already, but it's not really designed to be beaten right away. They want you to sort of grind up and make your character better as you go, even though it is a rogue type game where you will die. When you're dead, and you have to start the game over. But they do allow you to carry over some bonuses into your next playthrough, which helps immensely. But since I'm not going to be able to really get to that this week because frankly, I haven't put enough hours into it to give you a full impression of the game to this point. I plan on spending a few more hours with the game over the next couple days, and maybe this weekend I'll put out a video about it. If not, probably next week I'll put out a video on the game. But bigger news happened with the game Dead Cells this week, which was that IGN was caught red-handed with a plagiarized review of the game. And yes, this is something that has happened. They have fired the reviewer. They have apologized, done a mea culpa. They pulled the review down. They swore that they were going to go back and review it. They put out, we pledged to do this and yada, 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 which is all fine and dandy. And to be fair, they sort of handled the situation well after the fact. But the fact that the video got put up there in the first place, a couple different things I want to say on that. First of all, you can't really fault the editor necessarily for letting that sort of thing slip through. He can't be expected to watch every single video or read every single review that the game has had made about it, quite frankly. And the channel that they copied is called Boomstick Gaming. Now, they're not a huge channel, but it's not completely unknown either. I have seen videos from them before. They've popped up in my feed over time. I have watched some of their videos before. They're fine. But this is not a huge channel, but it's certainly big enough where people would have noticed. And what happened in this case is the person who made the video actually went to IGN and watched this review and said, what the hell, guys, this is basically my review. And he posted his own comparison video, which took off, went viral, and now everyone on YouTube knows about it. I'm sure if you're frequently on YouTube, you probably have seen this story covered on your favorite gaming channel this week. So what do I think about this? Well, like I said, can you really expect the editor to catch every single review if something's been plagiarized or pulled from another YouTube video per se? And no, not necessarily. However, this does shed some more light on what happens at some of these bigger sites when they're just cranking out reviews for every single game. How many times has stuff like this slipped under the crack, and maybe the person who maybe they've copied something before and there's another YouTuber who just never caught it and it just has gone maybe for years unnoticed. This is certainly possible. Certainly possible. So I don't want to disconnect from the situation and say, oh, well, they're totally blameless here and it's just this one guy. I do put the fault mainly at his feet in this situation, but we do need to take a look at the industry as a whole, at these big review sites, and question what they do. This is why I don't take review scores as gospel. I never have. And if you want to use a tool like Metacritic, it does have its uses. You can go there and sort of get an aggregate feel for how people are generally feeling about the game. But when you talk about reading individual articles, I mean, IGN gave Dead Cells a 9.7. That's extremely high. And I am having fun with the game, but 9.7, that's reserved for really, really top tier games. At this point, I wouldn't say that it's at that point. Like I said, I am enjoying the game. I do think it's a good game. I think it's well made. But maybe I'll change my mind after a few more hours with the game. But when you get big sites just giving out these crazy high scores to these games that appears that maybe the guy didn't even play because the entire review was pretty much ripped off of a YouTube channel and posted under the IGN name, what do you want me to do with that? Do you want me to really be taking IGN seriously, or any of these other, conglomeration type news organizations where it's just a bunch of different people doing it? To me, if I want to go to review, I will go to a YouTube channel that I trust. Maybe Boomstick Gaming. Maybe that's a channel that you like. Maybe you trust their reviews. That's fine. That's more what I fall in line with. If there's someone that I know personally over the years where I fall in line with what this person says about games over and over again, over time, over several years, if their reviews and my personal feelings about the game sort of line up, then I can kind of trust them when they're talking about a game that, okay, if they like it, I might like it too. If they don't like it, maybe I also won't like it. So that's basically where I stand on reviews at this point in time. There's a handful of guys that I will trust, and most of these sites, I'm really not going to take them very seriously. IGN is one of them. Over the years, they've put out some crazy review scores, both review scores that I thought were insanely high and some that were laughably way too low. They're all over the place. A lot of times it feels like some of the reviews, they're just looking for headlines. I know Dan Stapleton's name comes up quite often when it comes to IGN. It's like, what is what this guy's reviewing? To me, like, a lot of times he's just looking for headlines, stuff like that. So again, I urge you guys, just investigate everything. Double check everything yourself. If something smells fishy, it's probably fish. Check it out. I urge you to do this a couple of videos back when it comes to YouTubers and other game sites. Just, question things yourself. If the game looks fun to you, go ahead and try the game out. Don't hold Metacritic as the gospel when it comes to the standard of whether or not a game is good, because it's ridiculous. The only thing Metacritic is good for is giving you the initial snapshot of the launch window and what the mass media was saying, because it doesn't take into account some of the smaller channels, some of the people that I find to be far more accurate, and that's why sometimes you see Metacritic scores for games that are insanely high for a game that when you actually play it, you're like, why does this game have a 97 Metacritic? Exactly. What is this game doing that's so special? Or you see some games, like, for example, one game that I really liked this year was State of Decay 2, and it got terrible reviews because it was buggy at launch. But now, if you play the game, almost all those bugs are gone, and so all the good mechanics and the good gameplay that people were talking about positively in the first game, well, that's all gone. Now you have to basically view State of Decay 2 as a failure, or you are just an idiot. You just don't know what you're talking about. But I will tell you, it's actually a really good game that got terrible reviews. And like I said, there's also a lot of games that I think are pretty mediocre, too bad, that get insanely high reviews. So I don't take Metacritic or any of these big sites seriously, and this is just another example of why you shouldn't do that. And again, you can say, oh, well, this is just an isolated incident. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear that there's a few more examples of this coming down the line where people are going to go back now, definitely, and start digging into this stuff. So, just something to keep in mind. That's my 2 cents, and that's basically my weekly roundup for you guys. I haven't really done a video like this before where I talk about a bunch of different topics, so let me know what you guys think about it. Do you guys want me to keep more focused on one topic as I go through these videos? This is just this is just a bunch of random stuff that I wanted to go over this week with you guys. I didn't want to let this stuff slip through the cracks. I wanted to give you my opinion on it. So let me know what you guys think. I'm Coach Toolshed. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And as always, keep it turned to 11. And subscribe if you'd like. That'd be cool.